Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome back to Page Burners, where we are reading through all of the Malazan books by Stephen Erikson and Ian Esselmont. Right now, we're currently working our way through the first 10 Malazan books of the Fallen, and we, as of this recording, have completed House of Chains. My name is Carl. I am currently the adjunct usurper, as Varsha is missing. And, typically we like to start things out by saying not only our names, in case you're a first time listener, but also what we are most excited to discuss this week. But I'm going to mix things up slightly and say what throughout the entire book are you most excited to talk about? And yes, this will be otherwise spoiler free. We will not go beyond House of Chains, although many of us, myself included, am rereading this series. So for me, the thing I'm most excited to talk about, just in the book in general, I think is, well, in a big picture way, that this is my favorite of the books we've read on reread, which is wild because it's one of my least favorites first time through. And I think the heart of that is that I feel like this is the most complex book yet and has the
Hmm.
most like depth of character and thematics, and there's just a lot going on. And at the root of at the core of that, I'm of course going to talk about my boy Lorik, who I totally didn't notice first time through the series and now is one of my favorite characters. Steve, I'm going to hand it off to you.
Yeah, I'm Steve from Page Chewing, and kind of threw me for a curveball there, Carl. But I think I don't want to go with the obvious choice, so I will say just the theme of the House of Chains, the chains that bind us, and the chains that whether they're perceived or real, and just the further in the book we get, and especially towards the last few chapters, it really leans in heavily into the theme of the House of Chains and binds, and I just thought that was really neat that it all kind of came together, and the title means a lot more now than it did even in my first read. So yeah,
What's
so
the obvious one?
I think Karsa is the obvious one. I think his journey, his
Okay.
development, but
Yeah,
Fair
I
enough.
mean he's my favorite thing in the
yeah,
book
yeah,
overall, but that was true the first time through as well.
yeah. So I'll hand it on over to to Dan.
Yeah.
Yes, his
Sure.
name.
I'm Dan. And what do I want to talk about? I mean, I don't care what Carl said. I'm gonna choose a topic from these last chapters. Because I do really like endings of books. That's one of the things I'm most interested about because it contextualizes everything else before.
No
Um,
respect for the new adjunct. Just like
yeah,
Tavor,
no
I
respect.
will earn your respect.
No, I said you were beautiful before. That should be
That's
enough.
true. That's true. That's enough. You flatter my ego, my vanity, and I'll accept it.
Thank you. So I want to talk about the ending of Felsin and Tavor. That's the part that interests me most, especially because it's such a unexpected ending, I think. Especially on the first reread, obviously if you know, but I had forgotten about it. Um, and I think people would have very different opinions probably on it. So I think it's an interesting topic to discuss. I'll pass it to Mirka, I guess.
Hello, I'm Mirka. I'm jumping back into these discussions after a longer absence. I was away and missed most of this book, but I'm happy to be back and discuss these last chapters and the book overall. I think I remember enough. I think this book, well, I guess all of the books of the Fallen have very many moving and emotional moments, and I really like that in fantasy where I'm actually moved by what I'm reading. And yeah, I think Tavora and Felicine ending is one such scene. Um, there is also Apsalar and Qatar and Cotillion scenes, which are very deeply moving to me, at least. So I would like to discuss those as well.
And I'm Shannon, and I think the thing I'm most looking forward to is a lot of the end. One thing I really would like to discuss is the ending with Gamut and all the ghosts and the how they take out the army. I wonder what everybody's take on that is, because I know that's I don't want to say contentious, but I mean it's certainly a little anticlimactic the way a bunch of ghosts just take out the enemy. But I like it, and I'm interested to see what other people have to say.
Sounds a little familiar, doesn't it?
I had that thought too, and it hadn't hit me the first time I read it, but this time definitely very strongly. I was like, oh, okay, we're doing the Lord of the Rings thing. That's cool. I just rewatched those movies too. Good shit.
Yeah.
I'm going to start us off actually not at the beginning of these last 4 chapters, but just kind of in summary of House of Chains. How do you all feel about it? Where does it rank for you among these first 4 books? What are your overall thoughts?
Well, I've long said I'm a big fan of the Seven Cities stuff, and this first time I read it, I liked this book. Second time through, this one went up for me. Like so far, this is my favorite book so far. I think it was better on reread. I really liked it a lot.
Amen. Steve, what
I
about
think
you?
the
I know you
book-
or Mirka, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think the reason why people like this book more on the reread is because it does a lot of prep work for the future books, and like once you know what's coming, you kind of appreciate those that setup more. Would you say that was the case as well?
I actually
Okay.
like it because of how it is a direct sequel to Dead House Gates, and I feel like fleshes Dead House Gates out a lot more. Although you're right. I mean, I agree
Yeah.
with what you're saying, that there is a lot of setup, and knowing where it goes, you have a greater appreciation for it. But a big thing for me was just like, I did not, it was, I mean, classic Malazan problem. I just like couldn't follow everything that was going on. And this time through, I felt like I could, and it just transformed the way I experienced the book and all the different subplots and characters. And like, you know, we talked a few weeks ago about Febril and about how actually he's a really interesting character and like doesn't get a lot of page time, but like on the first time through, I mean, I didn't remember him. I couldn't tell you anything about him. But now I will.
And I agree with you, Marka. I think I've said before I really like the Bone Hunters a lot, and so it was really, for me, it was real fun to see them here at the beginning. You know, Fiddler getting a squad together for the first time. There's a lot of name drops of soldiers that I don't know if we won't see for books, but it was just like, oh, that's awesome. I remember that name. That guy's gonna be cool to see again.
Personally, for me, it's like my favorite is still Dead House Gates, and then Memories of Ice. And this is about the same as Guardian of the Moon, kind of. Which I really like all the character work in this one. Which is, you know, Karsa is great. Falcon especially, I think this book really makes her an interesting character as opposed to the previous ones. Like there's a lot of good, interesting character work. The only thing is that nothing really happens. Like there's no big event that you can say like, oh, the first book it's like, well, you know, Darujistan or whatever. And the second book, you know, all the fights and the trail and all the stuff. Like every book has like that big event. But this one doesn't really, because it kind of peters out at the end, like you said, with the battle doesn't really happen. So it feels more maybe like Mirka Shannon said, it's like more building towards something, because it hasn't really climaxed yet to anything. I think.
Okay.
I do not agree with that at all. However, I understand why you feel that way, because that was one of my biggest complaints the first time I read it. Was I felt like the ending was an anticlimax, and this time through, I felt like the ending was incredibly climactic. It does not go where you think it's going to go necessarily, like you said. Like there isn't the big battle you're expecting, and you know, I think certainly the first time I read this, I thought Felison and Tavor would actually talk to one another And the fact they do not disappointed me, I think, even though I found that scene incredibly powerful, Fellison's death. But like Karsa just mowing through the whole rebellion is insane. Like, I don't know that we've ever had anything, like read anything like that to date. Of just a character just like seeing, like it to me felt very like action movie, like John Wick just going through and like wiping out one lieutenant after another, you know, and the ghost thing worked for me. Well, I don't want to get like ahead of where we're talking, but for me, the ghost thing works because of how it fits into like Deadhouse Gates, ironically, and how it's like the culmination of the chain of dogs coming back to essentially avenge itself. Like
It's
it
very
involves,
satisfying, right? To
yeah,
kind of see that happen. Yeah.
like this whole thing is coming full circle with Deadhouse Gates. Like the Bone Hunters literally, they haven't been called the Bone Hunters yet, but they literally reverse Coltane's trek, right? They walk in his trail in the chain of dogs. And then they show up, they do what they, I mean, there's so much of what Erikson calls elliptical storytelling. That's how he describes his writing, where it's like things are coming full circle in a slightly different way. And it's like retreading the same ground of Deadhouse Gates in a quite literal way, but in a different, the shadows they cast are different, I guess you could say, to use a metaphor from the book, right? Anyway, I've been doing a lot of talking. I just feel very strongly about that. Steve?
I think that individual characters, individual storyline have their own climax, like Carson, Felsen, and stuff like that. They have their individual climaxes and storylines, and it's like, but for the whole, like for the through line, for all the whole books, it doesn't feel like it's, you know, there was this one big event for the world. You know what I mean? But maybe it's probably because I haven't read the next book, so I don't know how to contextualize what happens here in the overall story.
That could be a part of, because Mirka is right that there are very significant things that happen that are laying the ground for other things. Although I don't know, I feel like there are stories that are brought to a close here that are
very
dramatic.
I mean, the ghost is a perfect one, really, because that grows out of Deadhouse Gates, because it's the ghosts of the Crow clan wiping out the dog slayers. It's them finally avenging themselves.
Steve,
So
what are your thoughts? I know you're a big fan of this book.
It was my favorite book on my first read. I only got through halfway of Midnight Tide, so I can't really, appreciate it for what it sets up for later. But just Karsa alone, I think his development and the focus on, and of course we jump around to 1,000 different characters, but the focus on Karsa and his development from beginning to end was the most compelling thing for me on this book. And just from start to finish, I think was the most consistent book of the series so far. Or I should say focused, because I wasn't as confused with all the characters, at least as much as I have been. But I mean, all the books have been good. I just think Fellison's the end with Fellison, I think, is another powerful moment. We have a lot of the character. We have a lot of great moments with the characters here that, and then the bridge burners at the end. So yeah, I think it's the most satisfying end, I think, to the books that I've read in the series.
And I think this book is the direct continuation of the Deadhouse Gates, as you said, Carl. But also, it ties to the bridge burners, thanks to the bridge burner spirits. So, like, you finish the third book and you're devastated about bridge burners. You're like, okay, they're gone. All these characters that I loved are not in the books anymore. But then they come back as ghosts, and they kind of know that it's not over for them. So I really like that.
Absolutely. To me, this feels like a major transition point in the series where like a lot of the previous knots are being closed off and other ones are opening up. And there are still things like, Apsalar and you know, the man formerly known as Crocus, who like we're not done with him yet. But there's a lot, whether it is the bridge burners or Fellison, you know, that we see their narratives come to like a really neat end. Um, I don't know. Like I do think that like the Deus Ex Machina element of, because it is like by like the definition, that's what the Ghost Army is. You know, it comes out of nowhere. There is foreshadowing. Like people are constantly talking about like the ghosts of the land and like, you know, the cycle of violence, like taking care of itself and things like that. But uh, it to me, the way it works is like on a fundamentally like thematic level and on a cathartic level, as Mirka previously mentioned, that it's just nice to know. Like I think I completely the first time I read it missed the fact that the Crow clan was back, and you know the whole army was like, you know, the dead army was contributing to. I just had it in my head that it was like the ancient dead, you know, but actually the modern dead are among them, including of course Gamut, who now I know why I do not remember him from the first read, unfortunately. Although I loved his story and how it ended. It's very tragic, but cathartic. All right. Well, let's start then. We actually have a lot of ground to cover because we decided to not do what we said we would do the last time an episode was released. And we were supposed to do chapter 22 or no, excuse me, 23 and 24. Thank you, Shannon is nodding. 23 and 24. And then we were going to do 25, 26 in the epilogue. But instead, because of scheduling, we ended up just shoving it all into one episode. So let's get to it. The beginning of the climax, really.
It was 22 through 24.
22. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. What do we open with here? Oh my God, it's been a minute.
Let me tell you.
Maybe this isn't going to be worthwhile then to try to hit every point like we normally do and go scene by scene, and instead just hit the kind of general arc of things.
So 22, it's focused on what starts with Fiddler and his squad. And yeah, it just really kind of sets up the singing. Let me think.
What let's just go through like the general plot lines.
Yeah.
Like, let's go through plot line by plot line. So let's start with Fiddler and his squad and how all of that story comes together. Who wants to start us off with that?
I don't remember.
Well, we can let's see.
Well,
What's the start here? Like, what's the first thing that happens, so I know where
in which
from
chapter?
where we're starting?
They're like walking up and preparing for the big battle.
Yeah, they're preparing. The only thing that really jumped out at me that I like about this is they're talking about some nefarious bread guy that's pretty awesome. And if you know, you know.
It's a little bit, yeah.
We'll circle back to that one day. And then we do get like a little bit about Bottle, and we learn that he's not just a mage of, what is he? Is he Shadow? Or
yeah, Mianis,
but he also learns this. He also knows some like older magic, which I think is kind of important to know, because he's doing some divination stuff that we've seen. Because I think going all the way back to the beginning of Gardens of the Moon, we know that there's other types of magic that's kind of outside the Warrens, with that witch that Absalor meets at the very, very beginning. But yeah, they're really just preparing for the big battle.
That's what I'm saying. Like let's just go through the whole thing. Like how it all ends with Fiddler.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally, I love how his story ends here, where he gets like, he doesn't actually do a lot in the ending, but like emotionally, he's processing his grief, right? And I feel like he's reached a turning point by the end of House of Chains, where he has seen what has become of his, former friends, his comrades, really his family in the bridge burners. And he actually hears Hedge at the very end. He hears Hedge's voice briefly speaking to him. And I just found that a very moving moment. And of course, it ends with them uh, blowing up the it's the rebel or no, the Tis Leosin, right?
No, that's the Gessler squad. They blow up the thing. I think the last thing we see with Fiddler is him. It's him hugging Quick Ben and Talam. Let me look. But yeah, that was Gessler squad, and I forget his yeah. Oh, Fiddler's with Rannall when Rannall gets killed, or well, Rannall forces them into the whirlwind and gets killed. I think it's probably hinted at that Cuddle did it.
Interesting.
But yeah, Gessler. He sees the Tis Leosin come at him, throws the munition. Okay, so it was Gessler that threw the munitions. And then Gorid recovers and decides to retreat.
What does Fiddler do at
maybe
the
it's
end?
because
What did you say, Marka?
I was gonna say, can someone remind me what the Tistelios are doing there? Because I just read the last few chapters and I'm like, wait, these guys are there? Oh, okay. But
They were looking. Who are they looking for? They came out like midway through the book.
They're trying to avenge their god. They're there to avenge their god, and they end up blaming humanity, basically, I believe, because they're like related to the Talani Mass, and they stumble across the Malazans and think they're assholes, and like maybe we could kick their ass, and then the Malazans promptly kick their ass, and they're like,
and they want to
actually,
go
it's
home.
right. It's a pretty funny scene where they're like, justice has been served, I think, right?
and then also Gessler storming truth when they were on the ship went through.
Oh, that's
their area. So they were there because he mentions that at the end where he's like, well, we can't blame the humans because the dragon led them through there. So maybe it was that undead dragon, and we'll go back and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, that's
also
a funny
avenging that.
scene, right? And I think it follows the end where Tavora kills Felicine, and it's like very heavy and heady. And then we have these like kind of comical scenes coming up where this happens, and then Karsa comes to tell Tavora that she's not an enemy or whatever, and she's like, I'm relieved.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's nice to have a little bit of a lighter humor there after such a climactic moment.
This, for me, is the book where Erikson's sense of humor really like fills out. Like all of the books are funny, but to me, this is the point where like he finds that balance of humor and tragedy that defines so much of the series in my mind. And it's just like, to me, it is like this perfect combination of just the most depressing things you've ever read that make you want to weep yourself to sleep. And then, these goofy guys just like getting up to no good.
Yeah, and really funny characters too. Like Iskral Past is very funny, and the demon, I don't know what his name is.
Gray Frog.
Gray Frog, yeah.
Best boy.
Very, very funny. Yeah.
Oh, you know what Fiddler does? He freaking in the big sandstorm, he meets Korab. I'm looking back at the wiki. That's right.
Yeah. He bumps into Korab.
He almost gets killed in an explosion where Korab is like leading an attack, and Hedge's ghost actually saves his life. That's the big thing that happens, and that's when he hears Hedge's voice and is like, "Oh my god, he's right here!" And he kind of like processes the grief, and then yes, reunites with his buddies Kalam and Quickben, which is itself I find a pretty touching scene. To me,
Which I could,
Fiddler. Or go ahead, Shannon.
I was just gonna say, I could swear there's fan art of that scene, and I could not find it. Like I was looking for it that night when I read it.
That's the quest. We must find the fan art. For me, Fiddler, like the embodiment of his arc is as this like viewpoint of the bridge burners, as like, you know, Kalam and Quickben are alive. You know, we know there are some other survivors, Picker, but he is grieving them. You know, he finds out they're dead. He's enlisted in the army anyway, and he thinks about quitting. And it's his grief, his journey of grief and mourning, that I find very moving, and how he is the one who kind of set their ascension, the bridge burners' ascension, into motion by interacting with the Tano Spirit Walker. I mean, that's the thing where, again, it's like it's all these things are coming full circle.
Mhm.
Where, of course, Fiddler is going to be there at the moment of ascension because he's the one who made it possible. And of course, the bridge burners are going to ascend in Raraku, where they were born, where they first, you know, did their march that changed them, that, you know, set them up to ascend. It's like everything, in a way that only stories can, you know, fiction can, like follows this neat pattern that is surprising but still ends up where it, like, you feel it should. And it's easy to miss these things on a first read just because so much is going on. But it is just so incredibly circular, in a way that's just like, I mean, kind of classic hero's journey, classic myth, that is just very satisfying.
When you say that he sets them up to ascend, I think somewhere in these chapters someone says something along the lines of, for the Tano song to take effect, bridge burners had to die. Do you think it's the cause and effect, like these two things? Do you think the bridge burners and how they ended up in Coral is directly linked to the fact that the Tano song got created? And it was kind of like their destiny from that moment on? Or is it
I
completely unrelated?
I
I
think
just thought
it's the
about that. I actually
Ouroboros.
don't know.
I think it's like it's circular. It was always going to play out this way, even if it's not. I mean, they like. I guess you can debate like, is there free will in the Malazan universe? That I think is something we've actually discussed before. But to me, it's like I do think it's connected because I think it is just like their actions are what made it happen, and at the same time, that like the past and the future were like fundamentally interlinked and interconnected in how they made those choices. And so, yeah, I think them dying at Coral is, I feel it in hindsight is like inevitable and is connected to this. Yeah. I mean, because you see it with the ascension of Cotillion and Amanos, that they had to die. And it's a little unclear exactly if they literally died or not, but their death, whether that's in quotes or not, is what led to their ascension. And I think that there's something tied to that. Yeah. And the birth of myths as a kind of a thematic element.
I think it's similar to the same situation we discussed a couple of books ago with Treach and the Grey Swords and Fenner, and the fact that it parallels, you know, like, is the fact that the Grey Swords, you know, get all destroyed, is that the cause of their having, you know, losing its place? Or is it the other way around? Is the fact that Fenner loses its place that the Grey Swords get destroyed? And the other way with Treach. It's like, which one is coming first and influencing the other one? Maybe they're both influencing each other in a circular way. But yeah, I think it comes up a couple of other times because you're not sure which thing is actually the cause of, and which one is the effect.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think I agree that the Tano Spirit Walker probably kind of saw into the future, or like knew that, um, that page burners will ascend, and that in order to do that, they all have to just disappear.
But I guess also like it can't be just a coincidence that, was it Kalam found a random Thanos Walker guy, right? Because if it's just a coincidence, then it's just like a random chance that the bridge burners ascended, right? It's probably like, convergence of
Mhm.
things. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I think, I mean, to get into like the nitty gritty of this, I feel like is to fundamentally discuss the metaphysics of it. Or that's one way. I guess the other way is the way I'd prefer to do it, which is the like, what is Erikson saying? Is the thematics of it. And to me, this is like fundamentally about the nature of myths and legends and how they're born. And,
Hmm.
how many religions have someone dying or descending into the underworld before, they're reborn, they come back, right? Like it, in my mind, it's like, it is that kind of fundamental narrative, like interconnectivity between life and death and divinity and mortality. And, that the greatest stories like are often born of like life's greatest tragedies and overcoming them, I guess. I mean, that's why they're like aspirational, right? Is that death is the end, like we all are going to die someday. But the stories that talk about like in some way conquering death, I think like that speaks to something inside us, even if it's only a metaphor.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. I think this is a good place then to transition to the rest of the untitled Molassan Marines, who have a bone fetish. That is not a sexual thing. I mean fetish as an item, although you can interpret that however you want, I guess. And the rise and the testing of Adjunct Tavor, who, in hindsight, I feel like is she does a great job. She accomplishes a lot, but the fact that she didn't actually win the battle does kind of make you go, like, has she proven herself yet?
No.
Yeah, yeah. She didn't do
I think
well.
she's
She
not
didn't
happy
do
about
much.
it either. She's
Yeah.
not celebrating, right? She's like pretty, I think, annoyed about the fact that she didn't have a good fight with Sharif.
Yeah. It's definitely an anticlimax. I mean, they don't even literally fight, but that's, to me, that embodies that it was only ever going to end this way, the inevitability of it. Like that's what was really potent to me on this reread, is how, knowing how it ends, this is a Greek tragedy. It can only go this way. The rebellion was doomed to implode. And Karsa is kind of that justice, coming in a messed up way. And of course, Tavor was just going to kill Felison, because that's
Even
kind of what the
without
story has
that,
all been about.
do you think they still had a chance? Because they were all scheming against each other. Like,
No
once
chance.
it starts unraveling, right? Even before the spirits came out, they were already starting to, kill each other.
Yeah.
And it's been set up the whole book. They're all been scheming against each other, and they were, even if just the dog slayers survived, would they be able to beat on their own after having to fight everyone else, or the other way around?
No, that's
Well,
what
the Dog
exactly.
Slayers belong to Corbolodome, right? And he was already kind of like trying to get back in with the Malazan Empire. I don't think he was ever loyal to the Apocalypse.
I don't think the Malasans would ever take it back. Would they take him back?
No.
I wouldn't.
Bad calculus. Bad calculus. He was toast. He
No, for
signed his own
sure.
death warrant.
So I don't know.
I-
It was doomed from the start, I think.
I guess to like be even more specific about kind of what you're saying, Dan, and what I was saying, that like
Yeah.
Shaikh is literally what this rebellion is about, theoretically, on paper.
Yeah.
We find out in practice, it's a lot more complex than that. And actually, the religious element is very small. But if you think of Shaikh as the metaphor, it's just chaos. It's like anger and wrath and chaos. And so it fundamentally was going to self-implode. It is not controlled.
Yeah.
The Malazans, as organized and competent as they are, we're always going to win. And so Tavor striking down the symbol of the rebellion without a real battle, I mean, that's literally what happens, right? The Malazans win without even trying. They just push a little bit and the rebellion topples.
I mean, technically, though, like Felsin dying does not necessarily have to be the end, because the previous, Shaikh died too, and that was not the end. I guess the fact that the goddess also got killed.
Well,
that
right,
was
exactly.
really
To me, I mean less than Felsin, I mean Shaikh dying.
Yeah, okay.
I guess is the bigger point, right? That this she's literally a symbol, right? She's in armor. She is not even Felsin in that moment. I mean, she's quite literally possessed, and
Yes.
she's flattened into just this suit of armor. And Tavor strikes her down because, of course, that was always going to happen.
Now, what do you guys think about? Because technically, the goddess was killed right before, like at the beginning of the battle. So she was of her own mind for the last couple moments of her life.
Yeah, the last
or at least when the battle started, I think it was like, because they were like, she kind of wakes up and they're facing each other.
Yeah.
Why didn't she say something? Take off her mask, do anything? Why'd she just accept her death?
I mean, one, I guess, probably shock, you would think. Like after being controlled all this time, and it's sort of read as like, shit, I'm here, the goddess, there's no goddess. Like, what am I doing here? What's going on? What can I do? Right? She's all alone, suddenly in front of everyone. I can imagine how she might be feeling.
I think it's just exhaustion too, and I mean something that I said like I don't know how long ago it was, but sometime while we were reading it is like I very much feel like Felsin is actively self-destructive and like suicidal, like that her actions here, it's ostensibly to get revenge, but I think it's really a grandiose way of committing suicide.
Yes.
And she's not consciously doing that, but I think she is actively marching headlong towards her death. And so I think it just comes to fruition.
I think I agree with that. Just giving up, because it would be enough for her to just say her sister's name, and that would immediately change everything, right? But she just kind of sees it maybe as like a fitting end as well. Like, Tavora almost, like, in her mind, Tavora tried to kill her by sending her away to the Ototera Island, and just like, didn't fight for her. She was going to go down in the nobility cult. So I think maybe in Felicin's mind it's just like what Tavora always wanted, and she just lets her finish it.
That's a good point. I mean, she knew nothing
That's an
about
interesting read. Yeah.
That Tavor was actually trying to save her, or there was a plan to save her. So she might think, hey, this girl wants to kill me, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. That's the saddest part, right? Is the quest, Pearl and Lostar get so close. They figure out what happened. They're right there, and they watch Felsin get cut down by Tavor.
That was rough.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
That was rough.
Horrible.
Well, I thought Felsin would have wanted Tavor to know that she was the one that killed him, to sort of hurt her. I don't know, that's the way I thought. Is like, yeah, she wanted to die, but she also wanted to make her sister feel bad about what she did. So that was the other tragedy for me, the fact that Tavor doesn't even realize that Felsin is, is there.
Oh, I think that's a blessing. I think
for Tavor, yes.
Yes, yeah. But
well,
Felsin,
I think
like that's the spite, that like that she does have that hatred and wants to hurt Tavor, like, understandably, right? Like, I can certainly empathize with it, but I don't know that it's tragic that she made, like, Tavor is carrying guilt anyway. It's not like it
Yeah.
changes it.
I think it's tragic for Felsen in the way, in the sense that nothing basically went her way.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
But also, Tavor's original plan was, I don't know. I never really. I think maybe we discussed this here already. But like, okay, so she sends Felsen away into a work camp, and then like arranges some people to care for her. But still, she knows it's going to be a horrible place, and that like the chances are so high that this girl will not make it. Like, it's just such a weird scheme and so unlikely to succeed. I don't know.
Yeah.
What was she thinking?
Yeah. Well, I will say though, she did have a guardian with her. I mean, Bowden was supposed to have been her guardian. He did a really shitty job.
Yeah.
Well, Cotillion disagrees.
That's true.
I have a question
Yeah,
about Bowden though. It is because he was a Talon, right?
Yeah.
But
Yes.
don't we discover here that Corporal Dom was kind of being the leader of the Talons, or was like fake Talons?
Yeah, that's what I think. Corporal Dom was calling himself a Talon Master with his own talents he'd set up, but the Talons, like Bowden, wouldn't have.
Okay.
Wouldn't have thought of him as a Talon Master.
But if he wasn't under the orders of Corporal Dom, right? Because that's the part I wasn't unsure about. No. Okay.
Yeah.
I think he's just copied the name because he thought it was cool. I think there's even like a hint to like Cotillion like laughing about that. Isn't there like a sentence where
he gets mad because there's somebody calling themselves a Talon Master out there.
Yeah, but like Cotillion is the original Talon Master, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
I think when it comes to Cotillion's judgment of who does a good job and all that sort of thing is, first of all, he hires Crocus. He is not a good judge of character.
I mean, he's a good, nice kid. I think he's more looking for him as in like, he's an honest person that's not going to betray me, I think. More than he's super skilled.
Well, I think he cared more about Apsalar and was just kind of dealing with Cotillion or with Cutter.
I was being flippant. I 100% believe that his manipulation there is that he is using Crocus to get Apsalar to do what he wants her to do. I think Crocus is just a piece, and he says it's redemptive, but I don't think it's redemptive. I mean, maybe internally for him, it's like gives him a chance to mend his relationship to Apsalar, but he wants Apsalar.
I do think he likes Crocus, though.
Oh, for sure. No, he likes Crocus.
Personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, and then while we're briefly talking about Bowden, though, so we did get the confirmation that he was the Knight of Death that we've seen in the last book. I thought that was kind of cool.
I missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were all giggly when we were talking about
Wait, when did he show up for last book? Sorry, could you
he's like
remember?
very briefly in it. And
yeah, he shows up real brief as the Knight of Death. What was he doing? He was it was when they were in
might be
the other stand, Kapustan. Did he protect some people in Kapustan in the Temple of Hood?
Okay, I remember. I don't know how, but what connects him to Bowden? Like, what is there something he does in that book that
he's burnt? Like it's like he has burn scars.
Yeah, they mentioned him being burnt, but like there was no real, like you couldn't have known until they just told you in this book. I don't think.
I see. Okay. Interesting. So he was about one of the more skilled assassins of Vitala?
Presumably, yeah.
If he ascended.
Presumably. But what was it? I think because who says it? I'm trying to remember. But they were talking about Hood. It was Cotillion, wasn't it? He was talking about Hood was moved by Bowden's honor, trying to do his job with Felsen.
Yeah.
and even dying for her.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I mean,
So
talking
it's
about
Yeah, and I wouldn't say he did a
ascendance,
bad
though.
job.
Mm.
It's just that it was too much. Like, it was,
Yeah.
he got her out of there. She almost survived everything. Well, they
Yeah.
ended up dying in Raraku, but that's
I
because
think.
all the
Yeah.
path of hands and all the divers attacking, which
Mhm.
honestly is quite a bit too much for a single
Yeah.
talon, right?
He didn't do a bad job, like in a material sense. He did a bad job in an emotional sense, I think. I think he
Oh,
lacked
you think?
the emotional, how do I say, compassion to have Felicin work with her instead of basically being almost enemies for half
Yeah.
of it.
Hot take: assassins are not well-adjusted people.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Like, you wanted him to be her psychiatrist? I mean, come on. He knows how to fight. That's it.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
So
No, the real failure here is with Tavor. Tavor completely failed Felicin.
Mhm.
yeah.
Just completely. Terrible plan.
Yeah. But talking about like ascendants or like sort of members of the houses, like the fact that Karsa is the Knight of Chains, is that real even though he doesn't want to be? Like, is that a role you can have if you don't accept it? Can it be imposed on you? Or no?
I don't know how that works.
I'm not 100%.
Because everyone seems to be like telling him, "Oh, you're the Knight of Chain. Why are you doing
Huh?
this?" So is it just because the Chain God told all of them, "Hey, just so you know, this guy is also my friend, so don't fight." Or was it like it's a metaphysical thing? It's like a magic that imbues per person. It's like, okay, everybody
Yeah.
would recognize them as the knight or the sorcerer or whatever of that house.
Yeah,
No, I
I don't
think it's
think
the
he can
form.
reject it. I think he can, still keep his own will,
Mm.
but
Yeah.
I think that role is his now, somehow. And
Well,
Really?
everybody does.
I
Yeah.
mean, I
I
think
felt like he
I think
fully rejected it. Like there was no. I mean, do think he got some power from it, but
Yeah.
I don't know that he ever was like legitimately the Knight of Chains. I feel like
Well, what
they
about
were like, you're my bodyguard now. You're my bodyguard. This is your job now. You're my bodyguard. And he's like, no, I'm not, dude. No, you are. You're my bodyguard. Like I feel like that's basically the entire book. But I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't know actually how the metaphysical
maybe?
stuff works.
I mean, does Heboric fully accept Treach?
Yes, I think he gives
Right,
up
so-
and is like, fuck it. Yeah.
Kind of half accepts. He doesn't speak of him very nicely, does he?
But he
Yeah,
does seem to
Grant-
accept the power.
Grantel
Yeah.
was the same, right? Grantel didn't want to be whatever, Mortal Sword.
You're right.
Mortal Sword.
No, I changed my opinion. You're right. Those are good counter arguments.
Don't know.
I think he is the Knight of Chains.
So it's just a
Well, I
bad
think
choice from the Purple Dawn.
Yeah, Treach really sucks at picking people because both of them don't like him.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Karsak killed the other chosen characters of the crippled god as well, so I think that's
Yeah.
also.
Well, okay, so you want to talk about like Karsa's massacre and what went down in the
Hell yes.
in the camp?
Absolutely.
Well, why don't you lead us, Karsa or Karlsa?
Well, he just
Carlsa
kills
or
everyone, right?
it's awesome. It really hit me this time, just how like he just steamrolls everyone, including people who's not like they're not even on his hit list, like the Daragoth. Like they just
Yeah.
happen to cross his path and cause problems, and so he's like, "All right, I'll kill you too." And he like saves people's lives in it. I mean, I'm not gonna say like he's still an asshole. Like he's not a good person, but it is really satisfying to watch him just steamroll the entire rebellion.
Yeah.
Very contentious person.
That's for sure.
So, what do you think? Like, what is your understanding of his killing of the Daragoth? I mean, I don't think I'm clear on that. Like, why would he do it? Like, okay, just because they were there and they were powerful entities and he wanted to prove that,
Well, they
they're not
attacked him,
supposed to
didn't they?
be.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they
Was
attack
it just
him.
self-defense then? Maybe.
I think so.
Why did
I
they
mean,
attack him?
I think his ego also, but yeah, self-defense.
He did the
Well,
same
the
with
Daredevil
Aquarium,
attack
right?
everything.
Yeah.
They're assholes.
Yeah.
But Aquarium too.
Okay.
He just met him and just decided, oh, let's fight, right?
I just thought there would be
Yeah,
more to
because
it.
they attacked Orlong as soon as they were freed. They just immediately started attacking,
Mhm.
and then we see how in the past they had dominated some humans, and so yeah, I think that's all they do is attack and dominate. In fact, yeah, and then they attached themselves to the what was it, first? I guess he was the first emperor or whatever, the first
Exactly.
empire. So that's
I
kind of
think
like the
they
whole.
Well, but didn't
Yeah.
it say that they came to the Oasis to find masters, to look for masters? So that doesn't sound like dominance to me.
Who said that? Because to me, it seems like
Maybe
they came
not.
there to
Maybe.
find servants.
Okay.
Like, to me, they're like fully independent, wanting to subjugate, if not annihilate, everything they come across. Like exactly like Shannon said, like they naturally, as an ancient species, domesticated humans, and then they made a pact with Decembolacus,
Mhm.
who it was Decembolacus, right? Who is a tyrant
Yeah.
and notoriously not a great guy. And so I think you combine that, and they're just unpleasant and want to dominate everyone. And when they come across, a quote unquote alpha, they feel like they gotta, flex their shit. And unfortunately for them, they bit off more than they could chew, quite literally.
Mhm.
I'm like 50%
Okay.
sure though, but even if they didn't attack him, he would have attacked them. I'm like half
I don't
convinced.
agree with that because he didn't do that with the Tysliosin.
But he did do that with Vicarium. I think that Leosin were not strong enough to be
It-
like a challenge for him, I think.
Icarium actively was getting ready to attack him.
Was he?
Yeah. Icarium wanted revenge. The Mappo lays out the reasoning for Icarium attacking him. It's like very brief. But he mentions that, that pelt you're wearing, the bear skin, that's one of Icarium's old friends. And so he is going to want to kill you. It is a little anime logic, like powerful guys fight, because you're powerful, but also there's like actual like human motivation there in terms of Icarium wanted revenge. He was mad, and Karsa is always ready to have a fight because that's just how he is.
Fair enough.
He's certainly not a diplomat. Diplomacy does not come easily to him. How do we all feel? I mean, the most notable death, other than maybe the Daregoth, but I think it's even more notable than Daregoth, is Bidethal. What are y'all's reactions to Karsa, how he handles Bidethal?
I mean, it's
Well-
yeah, sure, it's nice that he got killed, but I feel like he should have gotten like dealt with a long time ago.
For sure, agreed.
Well, because everyone keeps saying like, "Oh, don't worry, it's not the time. He's gonna have a worse fate later on." I guess, but it feels a bit of a cop out. You could have done something before and probably helped many people not suffer.
Agreed.
I mean, it was good to see Bidethal taken care of, but it was also a little, I don't know, cliche. The way like we're gonna rip off his genitals, and we're gonna send him to Hood's Gate, where people are gonna do to him the same thing that he did to people. Like it was just a little too pat. I don't know. I mean, but I was glad to see him done away with.
Yeah. Is there something like cosmic justice in the sense that, in our world, many of the religions are like, well, if you behave bad, something bad's gonna happen when you die. But it's never mentioned in Malazan until now, really. So I'm wondering if it shows up.
This is like a singular, Hood's realm was never compared to like, hell like this before. I don't know. It just kind of weirded me out, I guess. Maybe that part of it. But I don't know. Whatever. I'm just glad he's dead.
Yeah. I'm just wondering what the morality is, because there's no, how do I say? I'm not saying that, in religion, that's the only reason why people behave one way or another. I'm just saying that there's no, in Malazan, there's no, how do I say, statements on morality from a metaphysical standpoint, I guess, be it true or not, which is interesting.
Until now.
Yeah, until now.
I wish that was
Is this the first time? I think maybe yes. I think definitely there are some terrible characters in Malazan universe that, at the end get what they deserve. I can't think of anything specific right now, but I feel like there must be another case of this.
I don't know. We'll have to keep our eyes out.
Well, like the Panyan Seer from the previous book, he doesn't get what he deserves, I guess. And I would argue that's worse than Bidetol, I would say.
I think
you have a strong
mess
argument.
with little children, except for the ones that got eaten by his cannibals, okay?
And join the cannibal army. I think that was a mistake to include that bit of cosmic justice. I think the Karsa thing is interesting because I don't know about you all, but I went from being like, yeah, fucking murder this guy, he's the worst, to being like, oh, that's a little much. Like, okay, Karsa, like, maybe, tone it down a few notches, okay? And I think that's intentional, that I think you're supposed to feel kind of mixed, like, oh, this is the justice you want, right? This is the like most poetic retributive justice. And how do you feel about that? Like, I feel like that's what's being shoved in our face there by Erikson. But then turning it into like a properly cosmic thing in the afterlife, when that hasn't been a thing before, that bothered me.
Yeah, maybe
Well, I guess
something to
we've
ask him
seen
about.
situations where Hood came to take someone, but it was more like a positive thing, like an honor, right?
Yeah.
Like the Hood himself came to kind of take you to the gate or whatever.
And it's
But that
never
was
specified, right? That Hood judges you or anything like that.
Yeah, no.
Right?
No, before this, when you die, you just go to Hood's Gate. Like, is it good or is it bad? Who knows?
Yeah.
Neither, both. What happens after you pass through the gate? I don't know.
Yeah. But it is interesting to me that there's no overall philosophy or religion that at least we've seen explicitly deal with morality in a way that we see in our world. Because in our world, almost every religion tells you, okay, this is good to do, this is bad to do. And even most philosophies tell you this is how you should do things and how you should not do things. Here it seems a lot more like an innate morality. You know what I mean? Like each character just assesses on their own what is moral and what is not moral and applies it to their own life.
I mean, it's interesting because even Bidethal, I was going to say Bidethal is a point of someone who like creates this moral philosophy, as disturbed as it is, but he doesn't like quote scripture, like he doesn't like lay out like that actually this is like a belief of his faith in a like traditional sense. It is very possible that he just made that shit up because he's messed up like that.
Yeah, that's what I thought. No, I think Dan's right, and that's really interesting about Malazan is because of this pantheon of gods they have. I mean, all dead people go to Hood, and there's not really given anything positive or negative about death. And so all the other gods, if you follow those gods, it's really just about kind of, I guess, power in life. Like, you're not going to go to some afterlife with Burn or whoever. Like, it's just about, power in life.
It is strange, though, that you don't see more philosophies of morality, like professed by people, you know? Like there are warring ideas, but they're not like they do feel like innate to the individual more than like a system, you know, perpetuate like there are laws, but it's unclear what the laws are actually like based it out of, you know? I mean, I do think that maybe there is something kind of missing there or maybe intentionally done. I don't know. Intentionally lacking, at least that we have seen in the
I mean, it
Malazan
does
world.
happen in most fantasy, though. Like, it doesn't have this sort of thing, and it mostly relies on people applying their own, you know, real life morality to the book. I think.
To some degree, I agree with that. I mean, I think often heroes end up coming up with their own morality, and I think that's by the very nature of heroic stories kind of how it works. That like the hero, you know, goes outside the culture and
Yeah.
like finds their own moral compass and then, you know, is better for it and great and remembered and blah blah blah. Uh, but like there are a lot of like religions and you know I feel like philosophical orders like that do definitely to me seem to have like some sense of like ethical structure
In
in other
fantasy,
fantasy stories. Yeah.
usually religion in fantasy is shown as over corrupt, or they're saying fake things. Like, they're not sincere or good or any. In many cases, I have to say.
I agree with that. Um, but often you still have like even outside of the corrupt religious order, like for
Yeah.
a Song of Ice and Fire, for example, you know, like there's a lot that is lacking in the religious development of it, but you do get the sense that like they have codes of chivalry, you know, like it doesn't have to be strictly religious. Like in
Yeah.
Malazan, they don't really have that. It's like you said, it's like it seems like all the characters kind of come up with their own code, and then the ones that happen to align the most like form factions, you know, like the Malazan Empire.
It's a very modern perspective.
Yeah, very modern. Mirko,
Anyways,
what are your thoughts on that, or Bidethal, or any of that?
I don't think I had that much to add. Um, I'm personally glad he got what he deserved, and we can leave it there, maybe.
Cool.
yeah. You posted a quote
Uh,
from a book in the chat, right?
Sorry, so I was just like, yeah, it kept bugging me the fact about the girl Deragoth looking for a master, and I found that quote in the on the Wikipedia Malaspedia. There was something about them looking for the master, but I don't have any further context or anything like that. So maybe I'll just look into
Bidethal,
that
yeah.
later. Yeah,
Bidethal said it. I think Bidethal's full of shit, though.
If that's what I
yeah.
thought. I thought it was a delusion of his.
Yeah,
hmm
he thought he was gonna
Like
be their
maybe like
master.
he wanted to be that master, so like
Yeah.
he was like, okay, yeah.
But it was not going to happen, I think.
No, he saw how happy Shadow Throne was with all his little dogs, and he was like, "I gotta get me some of those."
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe you want to recruit
Man's
them
These
best
for
are
friend.
these
the.
are a different league, though. I think compared to
Unfortunately for him.
Hounds of Shadow. Yeah. I wanted
Well,
to go for it.
oh, no, you go, Margaret.
I
Okay.
wanted to switch the topic. So,
Please.
okay. So, Onrag and the fact that the goddess of Raraku was Planimas, and they're, connected, and that she was actually like the insanity or the actions that the goddess took were pretty much a direct consequence of Onrag breaking her heart and like falling for Kilava. All that little story kind of like just told very quickly at the end of the book. I thought that was very interesting, and kind of like you think it's over and then this drops and you're like, oh, actually, okay, now that makes sense. Did any of you anticipate the goddess being Planimas or related to Planimas?
First read, no way.
Yeah, not until they
took me
told us.
completely like out of left field, but super cool and interesting that it all kind of ties back in again, like you said, with Onrak and everything there. It does feel a little weird that this like goddess of rage is just like a jilted lover. That feels like maybe that's like not enough to embody that, but I don't know.
I don't know. Women, No, I'm joking.
Good argument.
I'm joking.
Still
I'm joking.
here.
But I wasn't too surprised she was landing mass just because I was like, I assumed she was super old. And I was like,
Yeah.
for some reason, I thought she was like humanoid. She was like, oh, there's not too many options. And it didn't feel like Jagged would make sense with the.
Right.
Again,
I don't know. There was
after
no hint of like ice or anything else.
Yeah. And we already had
But
Penny and Seer being Jagged, so that would be very much a repeated story if that was the case.
That's an interesting parallel that I hadn't even thought about, that it is like, oh, we have the Jagged big bad, pseudo divinity, and then now we get the Talani Mass, the interweaving there. That's interesting.
That's true, yeah.
Well, I think I'm sort of assuming now that most of these older gods, not the newer one, most of the older ones are not human, just because there weren't humans at the time.
Yeah.
We haven't seen any from any of the other weird races. So I don't know if those are just gone because the races are gone, or something else. But
Yeah.
maybe we'll
No
see.
comment.
Yeah, we haven't seen a what's a change of mother god yet, for example.
Oh,
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah. We
Do they have-
talked about that in Memories of Ice, didn't we?
Yeah.
That like it's interesting that they don't seem to have an obvious deity associated with them.
I feel like they probably had at the time, but as the change of model is sort of started going away, I would sort of assume, like that cosmic balance is kind of like, well, the god also would decline in power and it would be supplanted by a new one. That's sort of like the thing that I would assume, but I'm not sure that's how it works.
What
Would
I
it
can
be
say is there is
so impossible for them to not to have gods at all? Just like have their matrons and be okay with that?
there is an
mean-
answer to this, but I think Mirka may be on to something that like they're like hyper rational, right? I mean that's kind of their whole deal. They're not even like magical. Like all their stuff is purportedly technology.
Mhm. Yeah, they don't have any magic. They just make technology.
I could imagine one of her matrons like ascending if there's like so
Mm.
powerful. They seem quite powerful and quite influential, and But I don't, we don't know too much about how they work. So,
Fair point, Dan. Fair point.
and we don't know how much. Like, I don't know how individualistic they are, because I would assume you would need some sort of individualism to ascend, because it's you that's ascending. If it's a collective, I can't imagine like a random worker ant ascending, because they don't have, they're not an individual. They're like a colony. And the way we've seen it, it suggests that they were some sort of like that, because they were all working for the matrons, and they were, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how much each single Chinchibale had personality, I guess.
On a
That's
related
true.
note, is it just me or like is the ritual of Talon like doesn't that kind of seem like a form of ascension? Like they just ascended their people in a
Yeah.
way? Like they make a big point that like the bridge runners are the first group to ever ascend as a group. They're all like, I feel like Quickbin is like, this has never been done before. This is crazy. But I like thinking about it contextually, like, isn't that kind of what the ritual is?
I mean, but Vitlanimas did say, all our gods are dead. Right? So I think they they had gods at some point and those ascended. And I thought like their ritual sort of like severed their tie with these gods or whatever. So it's like something different. It put them outside this ascension, non-ascension paradigm or whatever. I don't
you
know.
don't have to be a god to be ascended, though.
I guess.
I mean,
Like, I'm not saying they're a god.
I think.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, I think you're onto something, because I think, you know, it was the contact, I guess, with the whatever it's called, the fire warren, that I guess burned away all their emotions and everything, and made them kind of how they are as part of the ritual. So that's kind of baked into the ritual is the warren, and usually ascendants get their power from some warren.
Right. I mean, it fundamentally elevated them magically and fundamentally changed their nature. Like, we that becomes very clear in this book, talking about circling back to Onrak, that when he was part of the ritual, could not break away from it. Like, he could not think independently.
Yeah.
And then it was like a fog, like he describes like a fog being lifted when the ritual broke. And so in my mind, like that sounds a lot like ascension. But I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like though, because there's no other Lanimas left, which are really alive, there's no like, how to say, fuel to burn for the ascension. You know what I mean? If like half of them maybe did
Sure.
the ritual and half of them, they would become like this sort of, I don't know. I could see it more for some reason. I don't know how to explain it. It's just a
I
feeling.
think he's still thinking about gods, though. Like,
Yeah.
you're talking about worshippers, right? Like,
Well, think about like legends and idealize something. Like you need to be a legend in a sense. Like you need people to think
You don't think the
for.
Talani Mass are a legend among literally every race that they've encountered? The Jagged, like, they're like the boogeyman of the Jagged, and they're quite literally the scary dead grandparents of humanity.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wonder if it needs to be the same race or something, because I don't know. It feels like it is most of the time. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. It's very
I'm not
nebulous,
sure.
all this whole concept, so it's hard to. I'm
Yeah.
just going by feeling.
It's
might
not
be a good
well,
thing to ask Mr. Erikson.
there you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. No, that could be a great question. What else do we want to talk about? Unfortunately, Steve got captured by the Warren of Sleep, but
Oh,
maybe
no.
in his honor, we can talk about the thematic relevance of the House of Chains. Does anyone want to start us off talking about chains? Anyone have interest in talking about chains?
They all have
I
chains,
do.
right? Every single
Yeah.
character, you can probably find a metaphor for chains.
Absolutely. Do you want to explicate what you mean?
Well, I mean, all the main characters, I could imagine, like, okay, Tavor is bound by her position. Gamut is bound by his, what is it bound? But I don't know, by his responsibilities, I guess, and he leaves him banned, and then he seems finally somewhat happy, I guess. Like Karas obviously has his own chains. You can, I don't know, I feel like you could find for every single character something that's chaining them to someone else or to some responsibility or role that they feel is limiting them, right? But it's also the story of humans, because that's we always think like there's something limiting us or society or whatever. So it's a very common topic, I guess.
I mean, that's literally the metaphor, though, right? Is culture, relationships, like it can be any number of things, but the ways that the characters' chains trap them to their destiny. I mean, you could say this could circle back to what Mirka was saying about the bridge burners and like, the nature of like whether what happened to them was destined or if they made it happen or, you know, um, these chains kind of pull people along, and Karsa is the embodiment of trying to break chains, quite literally. He is the hyper individualist, the like uber hero. And I don't mean hero necessarily in like the moral sense, just in a like, you know,
Protagonist.
the mythological sense. Um, and yet he is driven by chains that he still has not fully reckoned with either. Um, whether it is I think he's kind of processed his paternal relationship a bit, but I think it's notable that he doesn't really reckon with the fact that he has or had no mom around, and his clearly, I think, has a weird sort of relationship going on with women. Uh, and I feel like you could interpret him going to Shaik. I mean, he was quite literally seeking meaning. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the first kind of symbol he decided to serve was a female symbol.
Mhm.
I mean, I think he is seeking out that balance inside him. He just doesn't fully recognize it.
Mhm.
That's true. Now, why did you say that, Carl? I'm trying to think about like how did it happen that Karsa ended up being Shaik's bodyguard or servant, because up until that point he was against anything like that, against anyone having any sort of power over him, right? Um, so yeah, I think maybe you're right. Maybe the fact that she was a woman and like for the first time, there was a strong female figure that he could look up to. That is part of the reason. I think that's a really interesting point.
She also embodies so much of what he wanted to embrace at the time, which was like Shaik is a symbol of chaos, and he chafed so very hard against order, as embodied by the Malazans, who he spent most of the book not necessarily pursuing vengeance in their destruction, but like that's what he said his like goal was to like destroy the Malazans and all of Empire and all of that. Uh,
Hmm.
and really, what it comes down to in my mind is he's just like immature in some ways fundamentally, and his view of the world is immature, and that his whole story is him kind of maturing and like having his eyes open to the way the world works and how he relates to it, and he's still grappling with those chains. I mean,
Mhm.
again, literally, like he is now has new chains, um, in terms of being the Knight of Chains and having all of these ghosts chained to him, and yet he is learning to embrace some of them. Like how did he end up with Shaik? He became bros with Leomin, and Leomin, by the end of the novel, is like one of two friends he has, living friends. The other one being Torvald Dom, Shannon's guy.
Yeah.
So I don't know where I was going with that. I think I was just kind of rambling, but
I do want to point something out, though. Was like, yeah, we're talking about chains and all those things. In our normal life, we talk about chains and things limiting us. But many times, I think you can recontextualize them not as chain, but as ties or connections, right?
yeah,
Like you can see a relationship as a chain, or you can see it as, like an alliance, a connection, a
Bond.
pact,
Yeah.
a
right?
bond.
A
Yeah,
bond. Yeah. Like society is a chain in a sense, but it's also like a bond that, makes us all work together. So it's not always, even in this book, I don't think like the chains that Karsa has are really that negative. They're negative in a sense, but they're also helping him a lot be a better person.
absolutely.
In that sense, I think it's interesting that, the crippled god establishes the House of Chains, but the crippled god is basically an alien. And yes, he ends up chained, which is probably part of it, but also he probably, as an alien, might be able to see these chains that every human being has, be it chains, actual chains or bonds and ties. And, maybe that's where he thinks, okay, this is going to be a powerful house to establish and, to get that power, to get that control and just like build that relationship to mortal people by acknowledging their chains and kind of like showing them their chains. Just a thought. I don't know. I like
That's
how,
an
that
interesting,
alien
yeah.
point of view could, like how that alien entity could view those chains that we deal with.
The outsider forcing you to confront, um, yeah, the reality of your circumstances. I I want to recommend. I think I brought this book up before, but even just like, um, so there's a book, Fallen Ascent. I briefly disappeared to go grab it, by Michael Woods. It's basically a long analysis of the Book of the Fallen, specifically viewing it through the lens of like Carl Jung and his like path of individuation. And um, first of all, it's crazy because at least so far, I'm reading through it as we go through each book, but it's very interesting to see how much of it maps on. And Erikson wasn't like trying to write it from a Jungian perspective. Um, I'm not like a hardcore Jungian. I just find like a lot of his ideas very interesting. And I just want to recommend it if you want, like, if you're looking for like really interesting literary analysis, and specifically we're talking about the chains and like and Kars's arc and the chains that bind all these characters. I it's there's a lot of different kind of Jungian terms I want to use that I'm going to avoid just for keeping this kind of an open conversation. But um, the crippled god very much does seem to be kind of like forcing a reflection of humanity, or I guess goes beyond humanity, but I think at its core it is about humanity, like who they are, who we are, what they've done, the sort of societies they've created, and who they are fundamentally, forcing them to reckon with that, and the dark side of it, I guess you could say, the things they don't really want to reckon with, the shadow, if you will. And I don't know, the House of Chains is a really interesting metaphor when you think of like, if you think of it like quite literally, like as a symbol, like a house composed of chains is like, that's kind of like a society. I mean, that's like, it's sort of just like one big metaphor for like a civilization, or any social group of people. Um, there's a lot of flexibility, ironically, to the notion of a house of chains.
Interesting. Maybe I'll read that book when I finish Malzen.
It's cool. You
What was the
definitely should
book
read
called
all
again?
10 books. Uh, Fall and Ascent.
Uh-huh.
Fallen Ascent. If you look up Fallen Ascent Malazan, you'll find it. It's got a very kind of surreal cover, dreamlike cover.
Nice.
Michael Woods is the name of the author. So kudos to him, tip the hat to him. I think it's very interesting.
I had no
Uh,
idea there were books like this about Malazan. That's cool.
I think this is the first big one, or it's the first
Okay.
one I'm aware of. Very interesting. Yeah. Anyway, back to the House of Chains, the book. What have we not talked about? We've talked about Onrak and his ex lover. They weren't married, right? Clown Mass don't do marriages.
They were.
Is this the
But
part
is like
where we get
they
the
were?
clan and mass sort of going through the jungle? Or is
Yes,
that
that's no. I mean, that's tied into it. Yeah, where they're walking through and they're going to defend the Throne of Shadow
and that's the
against.
we are the pre-MS?
Oh yeah, the heiress. That's a good topic, actually.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's in these chapters. You're right. Yep, we learn about that. The other, um, what would they map onto? It's like the if Neanderthals are the Tlani mass, then they're Homo erectus.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen it laid out. Eris are Homo erectus.
And
And
so
shit.
the heiress woman gets pregnant by Troll Singar is
Yeah,
what
rapes troll.
what
Oh,
has
she rapes him,
happened.
yeah.
We don't know why or what
And it was very
is
quick
she
too.
trying to achieve, but yeah.
That's a
Because they-
crazy scene.
Yeah.
It comes out of nowhere. They just like earlier that chapter mentioned the Ares, and then this woman shows up, rapes troll, pieces out, is apparently pregnant, and
How does she even know? How do they know?
yeah, it's crazy. I mean that's spoiler alert. That's gonna be addressed in the future, but absolute insane scene that I forgot was in his book.
Yeah. I have to say though, it does like it's very I could imagine it in like a horror movie because it like goes black and there's all that like that was very cool. But one thing that I did notice immediately was like as soon as we started talking about them, I was like, okay, well they're gonna show up obviously. Even though he says, oh no, they're all gone.
For sure.
It's obviously gonna show up. But it's also like something that I also mentioned in previous books. It's like as soon as something is mentioned, then it shows up a lot more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like as soon as it was mentioned, then also who was it? Quick Ben or someone else? Also suddenly like, oh, he also knows about it now, but it hasn't been mentioned at all since now. It's happened a couple of times. That they mentioned something which is supposed to be kind of like secret or not super well known, and then suddenly it's like, well, I know why you do it because it doesn't make sense to re-explain it every time for characters that don't know it. But it did. I did notice it because I've noticed a couple of other times this happening.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in
Ditto.
knowing what happens because it's obviously set up for something cool in one of the next books, right? Or
Well-
in the side books. I don't know. I couldn't imagine it being a side book thing.
The one thing I would like comment on in relation to that to your critique, which I understand and relate to, is I think it's tied into like how Erikson writes that he's talked. I believe he talked when we interviewed him about his training is as a short story writer.
Mhm.
And so he's like writes every chapter as its own kind of short story.
Mhm.
And so I think it's if you think of it that way, I think it's then not a coincidence that he brings up an idea right before it's going to become prominent in that chapter, because he's thinking of it as that individual unit, that individual short story within the larger novel.
No, that makes sense
That's-
narratively.
Yeah.
I don't have any problem. It just, it's kind of like when you watch a movie and then you're like, oh, that's the technical thing, or that's a metaphor, or that's like that, rhetorical figure. And it takes you out for a second because you understand, like you recognize what the author is doing mechanically. You know what I mean? But
No,
it makes
absolutely.
sense.
I agree. I have the same reaction where I'll have moments I'm like, okay, so we're about to like meet one of these people who we've never heard about before. Okay. It is helpful to like have the reminder, or not even a reminder, the introduction like before it, so it's not like completely like what the hell is going on. But you do have, it lampshades it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I do like also when authors do things which I don't expect. But sometimes it doesn't work, so it's a gamble. It doesn't necessarily mean it's good or bad.
Yeah, I agree. What else? I want to hold off in talking about the epilogue and like where things end up, because that directly leads into Midnight Tides. Talked
You
about
want to talk
Tavor,
about the
we talked
ghosts
about
and Gamut, maybe?
Yeah, sure. What were the things you guys wanted to talk about? I don't even remember what I said I wanted to talk about at this point.
I think we talked about my thing, which was
Oh,
Fellas
Lorik.
Tavor.
Oh, yeah. We don't have to talk about Lork right now. Although I'm happy to. But Gambit, yeah, great
I just wanted
guy.
to say I really liked his ending. It makes sense.
Yeah.
It was very well written, and like him just walking with it was very, very natural ending to
Talk
a
about something
storyline.
surprising, right? That he dies of like the first time I read it, I thought it was an aneurysm, but I guess it's like a side effect of his
Like a
falling,
yeah,
hitting
it's like
his
a
head.
subdural
Yeah.
hematoma or something.
There you go. Thank you, our resident medical expert.
But yeah,
Because that's not something you read in fantasy, right? Like you don't ever see that shit happen, but that is a real thing, you know?
yeah, he hit his head, had a bleed, compressed his brain, died.
I mean,
But
it's a good chance to say to anyone listening that if you hit your head and you feel fine after, you still probably should go to the hospital, get checked, because these things can
Yep.
come back later, right, Shan?
yeah, that's right, especially if you're on blood thinners for any reason.
There you go.
But
Yeah.
I really liked
Important.
this ending for Gambit. I think it was about as good of a ending as he was ever going to get. You know, he even gets, I think, a kind of like a little ghost honey at the end.
That's right. I forgot about that detail. No, he gets a happy ending in a weird way.
Yeah.
It's just sort of the anti-Bidethal ending where he's kind of gets what you feel like he had coming to him in a good way, where he feels content with himself. He gets to redeem himself, his supposed cowardice, his weakness, where he gets to act the hero. He goes out and he fights in the army and he kicks ass and takes names and
Yeah. Well, he was never
it's
comfortable leading.
great.
He didn't like that position that
No,
Devore put him in. He was a soldier, and he wanted to just
he's a soldier.
yeah. He believed
Yeah.
that was what he was supposed to be doing, was just fighting, not leading people. He doubted himself every minute of the way.
Well said.
Um,
Absolutely.
So yeah, I thought that was great, and I think I don't know. I think I kind of missed it the first time through. Just the poetic nature of it was the ghosts of the chain of dogs that avenged themselves on the dog slayers. Yeah, I
Absolutely.
really like that.
And I like how it's written, because it's it's written like he's waking up and sort of joining them and not understanding. Well, he in the next chapter we're like, well, he
Yeah.
died. And so I think it was very well written, like that whole
yeah.
His ghost
sequence.
talked to Grub. We find out that kid gets
yeah.
weirder and weirder.
That's right.
Yeah.
Good
Sees
stuff.
dead people.
The
Grub.
cycle of violence closed itself.
Yeah. I was wondering, though, why, like, okay, I get the ghosts of Raraku coming back to kill the dog slayers, but why aren't, for example, the ghosts of the previous people that Malzahn killed coming back to kill them? You know what I mean? Why is it just the dog slayers?
I thought it fit because, well, it was the dog slayers. It wasn't just the dog slayers. There was also like these ancient armies they mentioned,
Yeah.
which fit in with, I thought, with Chain of Dogs when what was his name? The mage that was with Coltane was working. He kept raising these spirits of the desert to fight for them.
Yeah. I just felt very biased, I guess, for some reason. I was like, why these guys?
If you have to go for like the mechanical reasoning of it, I think it's related to the bridge burners' ascendance. These are dead people
you think
who are
so?
ascending, and so the
Yeah.
boundary between life and death is thinner for that period of time in that location. And so all of these dead people walked up. Now, that said, I do feel, again, like it's an Ouroboros where it's like, well, of course that was going to happen. Like things are all kind of coming full circle. And I do think there's a ritual aspect to it where, again, the yet to be named, currently unnamed Malazan Marines walk in the shadow. They repeat in reverse the path of the chain of dogs. By completing that loop, right? There's like ritual significance to that.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
In a magically infused place like Raraku, which
Yeah.
we know is this transformative supernatural location. And I think that's what made it happen. They did not plan on that, right?
Yeah.
But they turned, just like they turned that bone fetish into a symbol of strength, they turned this tragedy into their power.
Well, it did talk about how they picked up these ghosts along the way. Like they didn't just rise up there. Like because they were coming back through that walk. I think is the implication. They picked up the Crow clan, and yeah, like they picked him up along the way.
Well, exactly. Right.
But also, I want to say,
Exactly.
I think Kor Belodam and the Dog Slayers just suck that much that even the local ghosts were like, "No, we don't like you."
Valid.
Yeah, but as far as ancient warfare, they weren't bad. They're just they're just fighting.
I don't know. Kor Belodam was trying
They
to like
suck. They're
betray
traitors.
everybody in a power play.
Yeah, but I
He
mean,
somehow
if you've
thought this
read
was going to
any
make
sort of
him
medieval,
the new
I don't know.
emperor. Like that was his goal.
Yeah, but in all history, there's always people betraying each other and generals switching sides and feudal
That's true.
lords going to the south. Like it didn't feel like they were bad personally. They're just the enemies are main characters, I guess. But they didn't feel like
Counterpoint,
super.
they have literally no morals whatsoever other than power. Like, they have no code of honor. It's not just that they're
Well,
betraying for one side, for another side that they think is actually morally right. They're fucking flip-flopping.
Yeah, I
They
mean,
have no
well,
they're entirely driven by power.
counterpoint to counterpoint. I'll say it did seem like Kor Belodam's guys were really loyal to him, like especially his Talon. Like because they were exceptionally loyal to
True.
him.
Good point. But from a normal soldier, it's like, yeah, he's just being loyal to this guy, I guess, because there's not huge benefit for them. I guess they're not being killed. That's their main benefit.
Yeah.
But if you think about every single legion and army in the Roman Empire that supported this and that other pretender for no other reason than getting more loot or getting power, there were like so many, it was happening all the time. So just, I don't know.
All that is to say,
I
I
can
think
see.
I think Carl had the real answer. Because the bridge burners, what they were doing, they picked up the ghost came with them, and then particularly the Crow clan, they avenged themselves.
I think that makes sense. It was sort of like an unintentional ritual.
Well, and actually,
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
It told us it was because it was Bent and Roach, the dogs that got brought back from the dead. That was part of this. Like, there was a part that explained that where Bent and Roach, the two dogs, they get brought back from the dead, and then now they're with this company, and that, I don't know, that had something to do with raising these ghosts. Nether and Nilf, I think, mentioned that.
Maybe it makes the barrier thinner between the two worlds or something. Who knows?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it just comes down to it's fundamentally this unintentional ritual that they committed.
That makes sense.
And it worked out. It worked out for him really nicely. I mean, can you imagine? Like I feel like you'd have to be maybe a little disappointed if you're one of them Lazen soldiers that like you have been pissing your pants with terror to fight, and also probably really angry and wanting to avenge people, and then you wake up and they're just all dead. Like the relief you'd feel, and also the like, I just have to imagine you would have mixed feelings about it.
I don't know. It's kind of like when someone cancels. It's like, oh, you need to go out, and then someone cancels, and you're like, I can stay home and relax now.
Okay, fair
point.
Like that. Good argument. Good argument. Yeah, I agree with that reading. All right. We can briefly talk about Lorik, my boy. Which is, I just love his ending. Talking about endings, I love. First of all, he helps orchestrate Felson the Younger's escape to go be taken care of now by Crocus, which is hysterical. Beyond that, I do think, that he ends up in the arms of his father and having that intimate moment where, like, yes, he's like a child again, but it's a moment of connection for him with a man he's been disconnected from. I just think it's very sweet. And he literally defines himself earlier in the novel as a man who like can never live up to his dad.
Yeah.
And so I think that knowing that is how he sees himself makes that such a touching ending for him. And I just love his character. I really enjoyed getting to follow him in this book. And, I don't know that I have anything profound to say. I just really like the guy.
First time through, I don't think
cool.
I appreciated that ending quite as much. Like this, and I was paying a little more attention. And yeah, his, when he finds his dad, several chapters back now, when our last discussion, I thought, he's very much like, oh, my dad doesn't care about me at all. Like he just cares about whatever he's doing, whatever he's investigating,
Yeah,
whatever he's, looking into. He never cared about me. And then we see here when he really is in need, he's just about to die, his dad is there for him. And heals him
exactly.
and in fact takes him back home to his old, his room.
Talk about a Deus Ex Machina. Literally, that God showing up out of nowhere.
Mhm.
Love that shit.
Yeah. It did
That's
sort of
why I
change.
found.
Go ahead.
All I was going to say was that all of these very emotional things happening is what made this so satisfying to me. But I feel like there's just a lot of emotion here if you have the full like understanding of everything that's going on. Like that's why I find it very climactic. But it's not like a traditional. Other than Karsa, it's not like a traditionally climactic end to a book because it isn't like a big battle. It isn't everything that's kind of set up. It's just a series of like very, in my mind, very like heartfelt, cathartic, emotional endings for these different characters
It's like
that I
personal
just found
endings.
very
Yeah.
powerful. Yes, very personal. I think that's a great word to use because to me, I think that's why this is my favorite book. Is it felt the most personal to me of any of the books we've in the Malazan books. I mean that we've read so far. None of them have felt this intimate about the characters. Everything felt so deeply personal to the characters and
Yeah.
what they were doing.
Yeah, it's like what I said before. Like each of the characters has their own ending and their own things, which kind of they finish independently, sort of. Even though they all happen at the same time, but they finish independently, as opposed to the other books in which many of the endings are very more intertwined with a big event happening. I feel, and here it's a little more personal. It's about each person's journey, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Well,
I get what you're saying.
and I think that's the counter to the Ghost Army wiping out a lot of the rebellion is that instead of this big battle fighting them, we're given this kind of like everybody getting their own ending after that. We get, Tavor and Felison, and then just, all these individual vignettes of, wrapping up their plots. And I don't know. I really
For
like
sure.
it.
Let me give the dumbest, nerdiest comparison to illustrate why I really love this ending and actually liked it more than like Memories of Ice's ending, which that was like one of my favorite books on the first read. So Captain America Civil War ends in a way that is very different than most Marvel movies endings, where it is a quiet little battle between like three superheroes. And then the one guy, Black Panther, who's on a revenge quest, ends up deciding not having a big final fight and decides just to essentially not kill and in fact save the life of the guy he's been seeking revenge against the entire movie. It's all very intimate. It is not a traditional climax in a lot of ways. Emotionally, I would say it's the highest point. It's the emotional climax, but it's not like epic, whatever. And for me, that makes it one of the more memorable endings to a Marvel movie. And likewise, House of Chains, I found this very impactful. So that's my, little superhero nerdy illustration of it.
I haven't watched it, so I wouldn't know.
You
But I
don't watch
understand.
Marvel movies?
I started when I was a teenager, and then I got bored because they were all the same to me. But I can see
there's similarities. Yeah, I get it.
Well, if they
Not
if they
super
have
bad.
war in the title, they're a really good one. So Civil War, great.
Okay.
Infinity
There you
War,
go.
great.
True.
But yeah, no,
I'm just not a
I
fan
see
of
where you're
Marvel
coming
in
from,
general,
Carl.
but yeah.
Definitely, I recommend the Guardians movies, Guardians of the Galaxy. Dan,
Yeah,
they feel different.
I like those, and I watch those because they're self-contained.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And
That's valid.
I do enjoy those, actually. I've watched, only the first two, probably, but I did like those. I don't know.
Oh, the
Is
third's
there a
really
third?
good.
Is there a third? I
Yeah,
don't
dude,
know.
it's
There's
really
a third.
good. Came out a few years ago.
Which one is the third? I don't know.
It's
There's too many.
literally the third one. It's
Yeah,
literally
but
Guardians of the Galaxy
the
Volume
second
3.
one is the one with the planet, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
First was the
Okay,
dance
but I
off.
didn't watch
The
it.
third was the planet, or the second was the planet, and then the third is the
The third
animal.
is the one that's it's all about Rocket.
Yeah,
I couldn't. Maybe I'll watch
Dude,
this.
you gotta watch it.
you should sit down and
You
watch
gotta
it. If you
it's
like
actually
the other
really
two,
good.
you should watch it. Yeah,
Okay,
pretty
fair
good.
enough.
Um,
I wanted to go back to Lorik for a second.
yes, please.
Because
Yeah.
to me, he changed a lot, like my perspective of him throughout the whole book. Because initially he was just sort of like this cool, he seems like a good guy, as opposed to everyone else, which was an asshole, basically. And he was like,
Right.
oh, I'm interested in wondering what's going on with him. But yeah, like you said, like the whole latter part with him and his dad, I liked that more probably. It was very interesting, but it did make me, in my mind, he regressed to being very young.
Sure.
I just couldn't imagine. He just seemed like a little boy. You know what I mean? Because of his
That's the
relationship with
point.
his father. Yeah. And it was
Exactly.
in my mind, how he looked, like how his physical appearance changed throughout the book was very drastic. But I mean, yeah, he's obviously very old. It just, I don't know. I read a book and was like, oh, he must look like this teenager or something, just because of the, the emotional and the, psychological relationship with his father.
I think it speaks to something. So this is my opinion. I think it speaks to something very human, which is that in a moment of intense trauma, it is normal to want to seek, parental love, essentially, even as an adult, even after you separated from them. I think that's one of the things that makes grieving them hard. And it's, of course, complicated if you are a parent. But I think it's not a coincidence that even though people have kids, they still get really upset when their parents die, because there is that fundamental connection, right? Assuming you have a remotely, loving relationship, right? And yeah, he clearly had a difficult one, but I think it speaks to something very human. And again, that Lorik seemed like a very competent guy. Like he's introduced as actually like the most mature of all of the rebellion leaders. And yet he does regress to this childlike state at the end. I don't
A
know.
lot of
I
daddy
thought it was
issues.
very powerful and touching.
I don't know is he going to show up again?
I'm not gonna tell you.
Who knows?
Maybe not.
I could imagine him not showing up though. Like, I don't know. It doesn't feel like he's necessarily going to, like some other characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This feels like it could be an ending for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
Going back to his room.
Anything else? Or yeah, he's grounded now.
Yep.
He's retired.
Well, since we're
anything else
talking
we
about
want to talk about
Lorik,
before the end?
you were saying he saved Felsen Younger. So I mean, Felsen Younger, Skilara, Hiborik, and then we find out that the Cutter is being sent to them. So that's going to be a group. Any thoughts on all of them?
Interesting group.
I found I actually liked Hiborik a little bit better, at least at the end of this, than my first read through.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, it's still kind of like
I love Hiborik.
I'm still kind of like irritated now. He just left Felsen Younger out to dry, like he was not there for her when she needed him. But
yeah.
But I kind of forgot how cool he became when he, becomes Treach as Destriant. With all of his cat powers.
I just feel he let down both of the Felsens a bit. Not just the younger, also the elder.
Well, I don't. Did he let down the older one? Because I felt like she fought him. Like, I don't think he could have ever not let her down.
I think he could have, but also it's for me like that scene when she's in his temple and then she regains consciousness.
Oh, that's
I guess.
true. Then he shoves her back out.
Like that part was really put a bad taste in my mouth, I guess.
Okay,
like that felt like when she could have helped her. Really,
that was fine.
Like that scene encapsulates their relationship to me.
Yeah.
that and I love Hiborg. Like he's just a broken old man,
Yeah.
you know? And like Bowden, he's really not well equipped to help these traumatized girls who are going through hell. And I don't think it's a coincidence that he fails Fellison twice, meaning the elder and younger,
Yeah.
right? Because the younger is very much the shadow, the innocence, of the elder. I mean, that just as like a narrative device, like that's how she kind of fits into the story. Um, and of course, she is her own character too, but yeah, Hiborg was just the dad,
Yeah.
the imperfect dad that happened to be around.
It just feels like why some other characters in their own storyline, it's kind of like they did the best they could. I feel like he could have done
Exactly.
better. I feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he could have overcome some of his own limitations and be better for someone else. But that's just what I'm thinking. Not saying he's a bad character, just saying that he should be crucified for what he didn't do, because it's very human to not be able to do the best all the time and make mistakes.
That's interesting. I don't know if I agree, but I also understand why you feel that way. I'm frustrated by him, certainly. I am not happy with him frequently.
Mm. Well, he's going to show up again, I assume. I'm pretty
It
sure.
would certainly be weird if we didn't hear more about Mr. Green Hands.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because he has to go to the statues, right? That must be a storyline
Yep.
in one of the books. It must be.
And then he leaves with Scalara, who thought she was a good spy, but turns out she really wasn't. On Corval Adam. Which I still love that twist that we were introduced to her, like, and we thought, oh, she's a spy, and then like the next time we see her, we find out that everybody knows she's a spy.
It is pretty great. Yeah.
But then
And yet she's still killed. Like, she's a badass.
but she's still a badass.
It's wild.
That guard was gonna kill her.
She's
and
high
then
as
she tricked
shit.
him. Yep, even high as shit.
That's crazy.
I don't think we've yet
Yeah,
to
it's
see
an
her
interesting
sober.
group of people. I think you're right.
Oh, and
Yeah.
she's and
An interesting group of people.
yeah.
Did the Talons kill anyone, by the way, in their sort of betrayal? I'm trying to think, because maybe they were just super
what they did.
useless.
Well, they
Probably some innocents or some relatively unimportant characters.
who killed
Huh.
No, never mind. That was with Corval Adam. I was gonna say that one of the girls that were his mages got killed, but I figured she got killed by. Maybe it
Who
was
killed
Alaman.
the scientist guy, the literature guy, whatever? What's his name? Febril?
Febril was
Febro.
killed by Karsa.
That was Karsa.
Karsa kills him. Okay.
Yeah, Karsa.
He was the first one Karsa kills.
Oh, and Karsa,
Okay.
when we didn't talk about it, Karsa also killed the guy that sold him into slavery at the beginning of the book.
Yeah.
Who was he?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, Karsa literally goes through, wipes everyone out. All of the main bad guys, Karsa kills. It's crazy.
Yeah.
What was his name? Was it Sithel or something? But yeah, he was actually the guy who helped Bithel get a hold of Fellison Younger. He was the one that lied to her about.
He was the leper.
Yeah. Was he the leper of the House of Chains? Was that the implication?
Yep.
I think so, but I wasn't sure.
Yep. No, that's him.
What a position.
Yeah, really, really a high and mighty position there.
So yeah.
How do you guys feel about Lestar and Pearl? I, for one, think they have the best romance we've gotten yet in this series.
I just don't like Pearl. So there's something
really?
about him that
See, that's how I used to feel about him, but I really loved him on this read through. Like, he's very emotional, and it's interesting because I feel like that Lestara and Pearl sort of reverse the roles you typically see in like men and women in relationships.
Okay.
In an interesting way, where like Pearl is like very like vulnerable and emotional and flamboyant, and Lestar is like very hard and cold and sarcastic. Uh, and if I remember right, she's also the one who's like active in essentially like sexually between them. I just think their relationship is very interesting. And Lestar tries so hard to hate him, and yet she falls in love with him. It's not like the greatest romance I've ever read, but I actually really enjoyed it. And I've talking about, again, endings I really liked. I love their ending. That there is that, even to the last moment, the kind of will they, won't they. And Lestar is like, all right, come on, dumbass. Let's go.
Yeah.
I think it's very
the
sweet.
second best relationship after Scarlet Past and Mogora.
Well, yes, of course. They don't have like a romance arc per se, though, but they are the best. I agree.
It's implied. I can imagine it.
Right.
you know?
It's off screen.
Yeah.
Way more powerful off screen than Whiskey Jack and what's her name? Corlett.
Corlett.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask,
Glad none of the women are around to defend them.
Is Pearl is Pearl bald, by the way, or does he have hair?
No, he has hair.
In my mind, he's bald, but I don't know why.
Scarlet Pust is bald.
Yeah.
I thought Scarlet Pust had like tops but bald on top. Okay.
He has like pale hair. Like he has like
because he's half
blonde,
Andy,
light
right?
blonde hair. Yeah.
Okay. For some reason in my mind, I imagine him somewhat like, I don't know, slightly effeminate, very slightly.
He is. Yeah.
Yeah.
He is.
Absolutely
okay.
that.
No, he is. He's described. He's effeminate. Yeah.
So maybe that's why, because it was like associated with like a eunuch, and eunuchs are usually bald, at least.
Sure.
In many cultures, maybe that's why. Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah, I see the connection there. I feel like they do describe his skin a lot more than his hair too. Like his skin is always described as like very smooth and glistening and pale.
Okay.
I would think of him generally as looking like a pearl. I believe that is intentional.
Okay, I see.
I don't know that for a fact though. Maybe I'm wrong. I haven't looked at fan art to see if someone has like really studied his descriptions and seen what he looks like. But oh, this is dark hair, so I could be completely wrong. No, that's his light hair now. Dark hair? No, that's Lestar Eel. I don't know.
Maybe there's no, he's bald in one of the pictures. Oh no, that's a demon? Is it demon called Pearl?
Pearl's not bald. That I feel confident
There was a
about.
demon called Pearl in the first book.
Oh,
wait,
that's
Quickman
why.
Is bald? Really?
Yeah, dude.
What now?
He's a bald black guy.
And he has a soul patch? Is that a soul patch when you have a tiny...
The hair on your chin? Yeah.
Is that the little... Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's an artist's interpretation.
Could be.
Yeah, I feel like he's not described as having a soul patch. He definitely has facial hair of some sort. Maybe he doesn't, though. I don't know. He's bald, though. He's for sure bald.
If he does, I will lose some respect for him, though. It does not look good. It's a rare, but it looks good, I think.
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure. I've definitely seen some black guys that have pulled it off. So maybe he's one of them.
He's black?
Are you joking? Or are you being serious?
Is he? I don't remember.
Yes.
Yeah, dude, he's black.
Is he?
He and Kalam are both black.
Are they?
Scarlet Pust is also black.
I thought they were like more Arab or something. Sort of.
No.
Okay.
No, they're described as black skin.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, they are.
I missed it.
They're like, like more like if you're going in that like sort of the Middle East side of the more like kind of like Nubian. Is that the right term? Like,
yes, sorry, Dan. All the cool bald guys are black in the series so far.
It's true. Yeah, actually,
I mean, it's not negative, but I just maybe I just associate because we've been in 7 cities for so long, and it just feels,
it's got the Middle Eastern vibes for sure.
That vibe,
yeah.
Maybe that's why.
No, absolutely. I think Lestara Yill, I think, is like would look Arab. Pretty sure she's like
Yeah.
quote unquote like brown skinned, and I don't know, man. It's tough to tell because like sometimes authors will describe people that we like colloquially would describe as black as brown skinned, and so it's always tough to tell. And brown skin covers a whole shade, like a range of shades, a myriad of shades. It's tough to say.
Huh.
And it's also in our mind we associate it with certain cultures, so we just try to
Exactly.
associate certain characteristics with certain, physical appearances, even when they don't necessarily describe it that way in the book.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I just looked at
And you
fan
say
art
someone.
for Lestara Yill, and it ranges from tan to black. So
There you go.
I don't know.
No one can agree.
Fair enough.
All right. Do we want to circle back then to the ending and preparing for the Throne of Shadow to defend the Throne of Shadow against the Teist Emerlon? Onrak and Troll are blood brothers. And really what I'm getting at is I want to know, what the hell do you think is coming in the next book, which is Troll's story, the story he's telling?
I mean, I read half of it, but the only thing I
You read half of it?
remember,
Okay.
I remember I have this image in my mind of like some mountains and some trees and snow. Probably, I don't know what's going
Yes.
on.
Okay. Well,
That-
you
but that
don't
is all
remember
in the
much.
book?
That's good.
Yeah, maybe there's a city near a
Maybe.
sea. Maybe, I don't know if I'm thinking of something else. Who knows?
Oh, that's something important, actually. Is circling back that the Raraku's a sea now.
Oh yeah.
I guess.
Nothing, I guess, about it. That's a major change that happens.
Well, it's
Talking
gonna be
about things coming
relevant.
full circle.
It
Well,
does
it-
kind of
it
just
was
get
described-
tacked on at the end.
It does get tacked on, yeah. It's like, oh, by the way, all the water got dumped here now.
Yep. And then all the Malazans got to the high points, so they're all safe and fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's pretty wild, though. That's
Yeah, I
like
remember the first
talking
time I
about a
read this, I was
baptism.
like really amazed by it.
Yeah. That shit blew my mind.
yeah.
The land
Wait,
itself
so
has
the
been
water,
baptized.
the water came from the Warren, right?
Yes, the flooded one.
Mhm.
From the flooded Warren.
Yeah, because it's because it was a scrap of the Warren of Shadow that was powering
Curled
the Woman
Emerlon.
Goddess and everything. That was kind of the
Yep.
center here of Raraku and the why everything was converging. So yeah.
Wait, so have all the people that we went into the flooded Warren, were all these people in that Warren where the goddess was? Were they all in the same Warren?
Head again.
Like, because we were before, like, with Tol Sengar and everyone else in the flooded Warren, right?
Yeah.
Was the goddess
yes,
also there?
Yes.
I believe the goddess was there, but all the water from
I
there
think
came out of the shard to here.
She is in a fragment of the same Warren. Yes.
Okay.
Well, she was trying
So
to claim
all
the
the
power.
Warrens still
something,
connected?
right?
Okay. Because I thought because they were shattered, they were not connected anymore. So the water was only in that specific
Oh,
fragment,
gotcha.
not in all of them.
I don't know how it works. I'm going to be
Okay.
honest. I don't even remember why it got dumped then
Okay.
after she died.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean,
Is there
I
something
liked it. I thought
specific,
was
or is it
cool.
just like she was holding it at bay or something? Like, why did it get dumped
I
on the
guess
Maybe
desert?
it was
because-
flooded before it broke.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, it was flooded. Why didn't it come out? I don't know if they really give us an answer why it didn't come out. I guess maybe because she was trying to claim it at that point. Because that was what was powering her and making her a goddess. But then she
So
gets killed,
her
and then it
death
comes
was
out.
like an opening?
I guess so. I didn't actually make that connection when it happened, but I think you might be right.
I mean, it's got to be related to that, right?
Yeah, no, because it is
Must
right
be.
after she dies. You're right.
Huh. And maybe that's something to ask Erikson. What the fuck
Unless
happened?
there was someone having to go through to get to her that caused like a hole or something, and that's why it went through the hole. I don't know.
Well, that's what I was wondering, is like, was there some gate left open? Like, what happened? I don't remember.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Do we know where
It's
the
a
water
great
came
scene,
from
but I couldn't
in
tell
the
you.
Warren yet? Or I don't
I don't think
remember.
we know yet. No,
Okay, maybe next book. I
that
don't
is
remember.
something we do find out.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't remember at all.
But there was one thing when they were in the Warren, right? There was this wall, and there was a hole through which the water was exiting, right? Was draining through this wall. But I don't remember, do we know what the wall was or where the water was draining?
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting point. You're right. Maybe because the wall broke, it went through the wall and then went into the mortal world.
I don't know. But it was already coming out slightly. Like, I don't
Yeah, it didn't.
I don't know.
I mean, some sort of dam broke, clearly. Unclear if it's metaphysical or literal or both.
Yeah.
All right. That's a mystery for another time, I guess. Back to Midnight Tides and the Coral d'Emerlon, the fight for its throne. So yeah, any other, I mean, okay, you said things you remember vaguely from the book. What are your predictions for the book?
Well, but this
I
is
want to
gonna
hear
be,
you predict.
it's very separate from from what I know, it's very separate from the current storyline that we've been following. So is it realistic for me to predict anything?
Yes. You have some things that you could use as
Because I don't think, like,
foreshadowing
for
or
example, Crocus and their group, I don't think they're gonna show up in the
Troll has
storyline.
been talking about it's what happened to Troll. The Troll is telling his story.
Yeah.
So it's in the past.
So it's in the past. It's
And
not in the future.
no. It's not like a prequel, but it takes place before this. It's earlier. Yes.
Unless there's some sort of time jump sort of thing happening, which I could believe it could happen. Being different realms and dimensions and everything.
Okay. Let me twist this around then. What predictions do you have for the future of this series? Period. Any future books, whether it's the next one or later books down the line.
I think.
Yeah. What do you predict about these people?
Yeah, well, I know the only one thing I know for sure, probably it's gonna happen, is that Habaric is gonna go to those statues, and those statues are somewhat, I feel, connected. Do we know if they're connected to the crippled god? I just feel like they must be.
Yes.
Or do we know that? Okay,
We know that. Yeah.
I can't
We do know
remember
that.
what we know, how they're connected.
The souls that are in the statues came from his realm.
Oh, okay. So I feel like
We
we're
know
going to
that.
discover something about their realm, about where the crippled god is coming from. And that's gonna, yeah, I don't know. That's gonna tie into something. I don't know what's gonna happen to Habaric though when they get to those giants. Maybe the giants are gonna. It's something to do with Autotrol. We're gonna discover something about Autotrol. Which is probably something like
Okay.
overloading of magic that just creates anti-magic. And then I don't know, Crocus, their storyline. I don't know where we're going because we haven't. I don't think we know their next mission, do we?
Do you think Crocus and Apsalar will be reunited? Do you think they will both live? Do you think they will die?
I mean, I would be pretty happy with some sort of, emo ending where they look at each other and they don't end up together, or one of them dies, and that sort of thing. I think I could live with that. Some
What do you
little
think is going to
tragedy.
happen?
I think they're gonna. Are they gonna get back together? I think so. I think we're gonna get back together, and I think they're gonna have a quiet life in the countryside, or she's gonna become the new goddess of assassins, and he's gonna become Shadowthrone or something.
Okay.
What do you think?
I can see that.
Well, what do you
What do you
think
think-
about the
Okay.
Leomans taking the what's left over of the rebellion to Yucatan, and we've got the Malazans. What's going to happen with all of that?
I think he's gonna join the Malazans in some way.
Okay.
But I think that always from up until now, it's always happened when that the reasonable characters end up joining together. So I think that's going to happen.
Okay.
And we're going to work together prevent something or work towards some bigger objective, I feel.
Okay.
All right, let's do a Deadpool. And I don't mean the comic character, but what the character was named after. Who do you think is going to die? Who lives, who
That
dies?
one's named after?
Yep. It's a betting pool on who's going to live and who's going to die. Which actually happens in the first Deadpool movie. Fun fact. There is one that they mention.
Yeah.
From what context is it? Like from what?
In the movie or in general?
In real life. In real life.
I have no idea. I just know that
in the movie
Deadpool,
it was
that's
a
what
betting on who was going to die.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just trying to think
who dies. Who's your top picks? Who's going to die?
Who's gonna die? Who do we have left? I don't think Crocus is gonna die.
Okay.
I don't think so. I think if someone has to die, it's probably Absalom or those two.
Okay.
Okay.
And I think all the clan and mass are gonna die before the end. All our characters, and then who else? Who's left of the Bridge Burners? There's Fiddler, there's Quick Ben, there's a couple left. I mean, we're definitely gonna come back to them, right?
Quick Ben, and then Picker,
and then the ones that retired.
Got her, little squad left. There's like 5 of them that are in Darujistan.
Yeah. Okay. I think Quick Ben is gonna die more than everyone else. It just feels. I feel like he's gonna have some ending plan to defeat the cripple god, and it's going to involve him dying in some way, sacrificing himself. That's what I'm going to say.
Okay.
Okay.
What do you think Cotillion is sending Absalar to do at the end of the novel?
I don't know. What could they? What's Shadowfront trying to do? I guess I don't know.
That's
what
a good question.
Thing is, I'm sure they don't want the cripple god to win, so they're definitely gonna do something about that, probably. I just don't know if they have their own. I assume they have their own objective apart from the cripple god. I don't know what that might be, though. Because they definitely could have gotten the throne of shadows, but he doesn't want it. At least maybe he wants to be powerful enough. Okay, I'm gonna say that Shadowthrone has some knowledge about the Azov houses, and he wants to use them to get more power in some way. There's some secret or some trick or something he knows about the Azov houses that he's gonna use to, in some ways, not subjugate, but become stronger than the other gods.
What do you think happens to the crippled god?
The crippled god goes back. No, he doesn't go back home. I don't think he can go back home. I think his realm is destroyed in some way. I'm gonna say, I don't think he's gonna be redeemed. I can't see how he's gonna be redeemed. So I don't know. The only thing I can think of is just going to get defeated, but that sounds too boring. There must be something more interesting going on with him, for sure.
Who knows?
Maybe he's going to get... Okay, I'm going to say something like he's going to get subsumed and merged with Burn in some syncretic way that starts a new beginning, and then Earth rejuvenates itself in some way as a mixture of 2 different worlds.
I love it.
Somehow.
It's great. I have written all these down. We will definitely come back to these.
No, this is so fun. This is so fun. I can't wait to ask Steve now, because we're at the point now where we can't ask you these things, and that there's no real influence of the books that you had read. So this is fun. This is what you got to experience when I was reading the Baker books.
I guess.
That is a keeper.
I feel like I would have more reasonable answers if you asked me halfway through a book what the ending of that book is going to be.
Well, sure.
That's not nearly as fun.
We can do... Yeah, exactly. I want to hear the long shots.
Yeah, I want the...
I want to hear the big swings.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not. Nothing is set up yet. No, a lot of stuff is set up. You're right. A lot of stuff is set up.
We've had 4 giant books.
Mhm.
Lots has been set up.
Yeah. I
You
guess.
it
Yeah.
what I'll say for you is it's hard to tell what the end game is at this point because things have been so dispersed. Totally fair.
Yeah.
Do you have any other
I just don't know what to
big
focus
swings?
on. What other characters are left? What other characters are left?
All the
There's a
ones in the
lot. Oh yeah,
military?
Karsa is gonna do
Tavor?
something. What is Karsa gonna do?
I
Yeah,
don't know. What do you think?
exactly.
Karsa's gonna. I mean, Karsa says he wants to go back to his homeland and then make the tabler back great again. I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what he says, right?
Right. No, you're absolutely right. That it's literally what yeah.
And he wants to make them conquer everyone else, it seems. But I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think that's gonna happen. I'm gonna say that Karsa has a whole journey before he returns home, and then somehow he learns that the peaceful life of a Templar is actually better than the idealized war-like conquest that he envisions now.
Cool.
Probably not, but I hope for him.
My last one I'm very curious about, Tavor. What do you think is Tavor's deal? What is going to happen to Tavor?
I wasn't sure if she was going to come back or not, because I could also imagine her being, like, the character being done. Like, I wasn't sure if it was, like, going to be a recurring character, especially because we didn't see anything from her perspective. So she wasn't really a character. She was a background character. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah,
No, I
sure.
get you.
So I don't know. Are we going to get her perspective? I would be interested, because I think she's definitely set up there's a lot of stuff set up for her to be an interesting character with her relationship between her and whatever the name of that woman she always calls is. I forget her name, but she always calls
Amber.
her after something happened. So I assume I don't know if I assume they're lovers, but I'm sure there's an interesting dynamic and relationship between them, and there's a lot of emotional stuff going on behind the scenes that we're not privy to. So I would be interested in seeing her perspective. I don't know if she's gonna see it. Yeah, we must. I think, okay, I'm gonna say we're gonna see her perspective just because it's too interesting to not see, and the relationship setup is better to be later explored and be interesting.
Cool.
What's gonna happen to her? I don't know, because I don't know how the Malazan Empire fits with the plans, because it definitely fits with the plans of the gods in some way. And it definitely, I think, fits with Shadow's Throne's plans, I feel.
Right.
I just don't know how much Lysine knows about this, because maybe she has her own counter
It's a
plans.
great question.
Right?
Great question.
I could see her being like, oh, I know all this sort of thing happening, and I have my own plan to make myself independent and not the plaything of the gods. But we've also discussed a lot how we think she is also not super competent in some cases. So it's still uncertain in my mind. I wish it ends up that she was actually planning. She had like an interesting plan that outsmarts Shadowthrone. I hope. That's what I hope. But I don't know. And Tabor is going to be influential in it, because I'm sure they're going to be working together if that ends up being a thing.
This is very fun. I really enjoyed this.
It's great.
Glad you enjoyed it.
I love, Shannon, that you wrote it all down.
Yep.
This is great. This is great for posterity.
We
We'll be able to
will.
return to it.
Yeah, some of the stuff later this year, probably next year for some of the stuff, but
Yeah,
we will
you
get
need
to
to
it.
ask Steve.
We're gonna have to bug Steve too.
All right.
About some protections, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Is there anything else anyone wants to talk about? We haven't done quotes, but we could maybe save that too, unless someone has a quote.
I think I really had any this time.
I don't have any quotes. It's been too long. I could not
Yeah.
gather them. Not that I am the king of quotes either. We're missing the queen of quotes.
We sure are. Check my Kindle real quick or my Kobo and see if I highlighted anything.
Well, while Shannon is checking, I'll just say to anyone who is still listening, still with us after all this time, went on this epic journey with us, we will be returning next week. We'll have a spoiler discussion for the whole Book of the Fallen, where we will be talking about House of Chains as a book within the larger context of the series. We sadly will not have Dan for that, as he still has to read the rest of the Book of the Fallen. And then
Or maybe
after that,
luckily.
hopefully the week after that, we will start Midnight Tides. We will, of course, post on the Page Chewing forum what the schedule is and update all of that. I would say if you're generally want to like get ahead on the reading, probably going to be 2 or 3 chapters. Safe bet. Usually around 100 pages every time. All right, Shannon. Any quotes?
See. Yeah, I got a couple things highlighted, but I don't think they're quotes. No, this isn't a quote. This is just something about Lorik that I don't want to talk about. All right, we're good.
All right. Well, this was fun. I'm really excited to get into the books now that Steve and Dan have not read.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Please let us know what you think of the House of Chains. Join us on the Page Chewing forum. We'd love to hear from you. We have our conversations there outside of this chat. And otherwise, Happy New Year.